Welcome back to another episode of the A Sports Podcast. My name's Art. Here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
As you can tell by our attire, it is 316 day. Happy 316 day, Alex.
I can't wait. We got ourselves a 4-pack of Broken Skull IPAs for the occasion.
So what we're going to do today, a little different than what we usually do. We're just going to go over and talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin for, I don't know, half hour to an hour. So if you guys...
Hold on, we got to get the thumbnail, man.
Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe, drop a like,
Thumbnail.
leave a comment.
There we go.
Cool. All right. We'll crack one of those open so we could get started.
You got to tell me twice.
We'll be catching up on boxing and UFC. Our schedules have been different, so we haven't been able to record. But
Do you want me to like splash them? And
no, don't waste it.
this is I'm going to waste it. I'm going to drink.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. COVID. Ooh, if you haven't tried a Broken Skull IPA, it's pretty damn good.
Oh, that one tasted smooth.
That one was smooth. That was a 316 smooth. Ooh. All right. I think you got yourself a nice little poster.
I did. On WWEshop.com, since today is 316 day, they made 316 of these Stone Cold Steve Austin limited edition posters. And I was able to get my hands on 2 of them.
Nice. So maybe we'll have that right here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking we can frame it and then just put them right here.
I like it.
Like
It better
right-
come already framed. It better not come rolled up because then
Oh no, it comes rolled up, dude. Dude, the frame, those things are expensive. The frames are like $40.
if you're buying a poster that is out of, number to 316, then you should get a frame. Hopefully you have like number 3 or you have like number 16 or you have like number 316.
I doubt that
That'd
they
be
even
pretty
did.
cool.
I think there was like 25 of them. 25 posters of red, like the red instead of the blue.
Okay.
And those look bad ass,
Badass.
man.
Okay.
But they sold out so quick that I didn't even get a chance to get my hands on one of them.
All right. So a lot of you guys I'm sure know Stone Cold Steve Austin, but we got a bunch to talk about. His career started in the early 90s. He started in WCW. He was stunning Steve Austin. And then he went to Eastern Championship Wrestling, which turned into ECW, where he was the ringmaster with Paul Heyman. As you can see, he won the television title for them. And then, of course, he turns into Stone Cold Steve Austin at King of the Ring 1996. He beats Jake the Snake Roberts in the final, and he cuts a crazy promo. Jake the Snake Roberts was very spiritual, and if I remember correctly, he, pretty much puts down the John 3:16 and says Austin 3:16 just whipped his ass. And that's where Stone Cold was born. Alex, do you remember the first time you heard of or watched Stone Cold Steve Austin?
You know what? I can't entirely remember, but I know the promo. I wasn't old enough. I was born in 1994. The promo was 1996.
96, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 2 years old by then, opening cans of whoop asses and stuff. Stomping mud holes, mopping them dry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is a big podcast for me. I'm a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I figured that it would be only fitting that we do a podcast on Stone Cold Steve Austin's 25th anniversary of when Austin 316 was born.
Well, he wasn't born on 316, like the exact date 316.
No, I meant like the saying, like the whole
yeah.
Austin 316. I didn't mean literally.
Yeah, I think the anniversary is like in June or something like that. But yeah, it's coming up. So after he becomes Stone Cold, this happened in the summer. King of the Ring happened in the summer, and then he faces Owen Hart at SummerSlam the late great Owen Hart SummerSlam of 1996, where they had a good match. Have you seen any Owen Hart matches?
I have not actually. I've seen this match, but I just didn't have time really to go back and watch the Owen Hart matches. But I did. For the people that don't know, Owen Hart did pass away in a tragic accident where he fell from the rafters because they try to have him come in on a cord or something.
Yeah,
kind of like Sting,
kind of like a superhero flying in.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a good topic to bring up because a lot of people think that wrestling is fake, which, I mean, in certain cases it is, right? I mean, it's the outcome is predetermined, but when things like this happen, it's not fake. You know, this is unfortunately real, to where Owen Hart fell from the rafters, and he hit on the turnbuckle or the rope?
On the ropes.
He hit on the ropes and he passed away. And yeah, I mean, anything to say about that one?
No, I mean, that's a whole nother podcast in itself.
Oh yeah, but that's kind of what
if you do want to know more about it, Dark Side of the Ring on Vice did a great episode on Owen Hart, and it was like a full life documentary, but of course, his death overshadowed or his death took up a lot of time on that documentary.
And I'm sure a lot of people don't know who Owen Hart is, so that's why I figured I would bring it up. And Owen Hart was one of the best technical wrestlers. Unfortunately, his time was cut short, but
he never got to become world champion. He was always Bret Hart's little brother.
Right.
But yeah, he was one of the greats, man. Wrestling wise, one of the greats. You could watch his matches, and he never gave a bad match, or was never in a bad match. So, but except for maybe we could say this match was a bad match. He does a sit down pile driver. Now stories vary. Excuse me. Where Stone Cold and Owen Hart talked about it earlier in the night, and Stone Cold asked Owen Hart, "Hey, you dropped onto your knees, right?" Instead of if you don't know what a pile driver is, he has him in this position that you see right now. And Stone Cold thought that Owen Hart was dropping down to his knees so that Austin's head wouldn't hit the mat. Well, Owen Hart dropped down to his butt, and as you can see, right underneath Owen's butt is where Austin's head is. So Austin's head, crashed right into the mat. Ended up breaking his neck. The match stalled for about 2 minutes while Austin was trying to get back into trying to get his wits about him, and they finished the match probably like 20 seconds later. They didn't even finish what they had planned out. Alex broke a neck.
I mean, to me, a lot of people can't even fathom, walking with a broken neck. You're in front of thousands of people. You get dropped on your head. You break your neck. From what Stone Cold Steve Austin described it as, his arms went numb. He lost feeling in his arms. He said he felt paralyzed. He couldn't really move for a little while, so he had to tell Owen Hart that, you know what, he told the ref, actually, tell Owen Hart to stall a little bit. I can't move. So he tells Owen Hart. Owen Hart kind of baits the crowd, and he's kind of, telling Steve Austin that he opened up a can of whoop ass on him or whatever. And somehow Stone Cold Steve Austin gets up and he's able to finish that match, but it was a rollover. It was a rollover pin that was, still Stone Cold said it himself that it's one of the worst rollover pins that ever happened, but you can't blame the guy. He had a broken neck. He was probably concussed. He just wasn't all there. So, unfortunately, that match ended in a pretty bad finish.
Yeah, and that injury, I think plagued him for the rest of his career.
Definitely.
He did have a surgery to get it fixed. Enough for him to come back in, I believe it was in early 98. No, early 97. I'm sorry. This happened in 96. So in 97, he comes back and we see the first time he stuns Vince McMahon. Now I don't remember this. Obviously I've gone back and watched it, but my first memory of him was the whole Tyson Austin, Shawn Michaels WrestleMania. But when he first stunned Vince McMahon, definitely a huge deal. Vince had just kind of announced himself as the boss. He was always like an announcer. He was never known as the owner of WWE. He kind of, played that close to the vest. Any thoughts on Stone Cold stunning Vince the first time?
No, you know what? I thought that it was a good way for him to. It kind of shows what character he had throughout his entire career. He did what everybody kind of wants to do to their boss. Everybody wishes they could Stone Cold stunner their boss and whatnot, and he actually did it. And I think his whole career was stemmed on that. Yeah. Him and Vince, just having that. He goes after his boss, and the boss is the guy with all the power. But yeah, he stuns him. He messes up his cars. He, does a bunch of stuff to him. And I think that really just laid the foundation.
Yeah.
Per se.
Definitely. You were talking about how everybody wants to do that to their boss. I think that's why Stone Cold connected with so many fans, because he was, kind of a rebel. In wrestling, there's a good guy, bad guy. That's the way it is. There should be a good guy and there should be a bad guy. Is Stone Cold, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy that's cool and the audience just...
I think he could just never really be a heel, which was a heel in the wrestling business is called the bad guy. Yeah. So I just don't think that he was ever really able to be the full heel to where people hated him, because he did a lot of things that people want to see. It's entertainment. And I felt like it's kind of like a Rey Mysterio, where he was never really able to be a heel because the fans just loved him so much. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that I think he also said it himself in an interview that's, he just wasn't able to be a full heel just because the way he connected with the fans, the way the fans kind of just looked up to him, they were never really able to hate the guy.
Similar to like a Hulk Hogan in WCW during this time when he was with the NWO. They were the cool bad guys. Everybody wanted to be the cool guys, and they were the cool bad guys.
And they had the look for it.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan was loved, by everybody. He turns on Macho Man and Sting, and he, people kind of liked him for it, which is different, in wrestling. That was different for the times. That hadn't happened before. So yeah, Stone Cold was a good guy / bad guy that everybody liked. One night he drove a Zamboni. You can see the Detroit Red Wings logo. I believe this was in Michigan. He drove a Zamboni that they used to clean the ice to the ring.
I apologize for the slide as well. I mean, I try to get some good slides that show the whole Zamboni crashing into the ring to where he clotheslines Vince. But I mean, the video quality back then was just very
picture
bad.
Quality.
The picture, I Googled whatever I could on the Zamboni, the whole Zamboni skit, and there's just nothing that came up. I mean, I'm sorry.
The pictures were...
I tried my best.
No, the pictures were bad back then. I mean, that's just how it was,
Yeah, they were kind of faded out. Even the whole promo that gave birth to 316, where he does the promo at King of the Ring, even that video looked like it was from the Stone Ages. I was upset. I was like, come on, man, it's ridiculous. I think the filters would have, made it a little more clear.
Yeah, I agree. But
what can you do?
There was no filters back then. And one of the most famous skits I think Stone Cold ever did was
This is one of my favorite.
the hospital skit against Vince McMahon. Vince goes to the hospital after injuring his leg. Dude, and it wasn't just Stone Cold, like Mick Foley showing up with the clown
Right.
right before Stone Cold, and then Stone Cold plays the nurse and
The doctor.
the doctor, and then he tells the nurse, "I'll take it from here." He jams him in the butt with the IV needle. He hits him over the head with the
frying pan or
with the
something.
tray. I think it was like a metal tray. Yeah, man. Good.
He hits him
good
with those. He electrocutes him with those. The things that they use to revive people with.
I forgot what they're called. But the ones that they put on your chest and clear. Brought him back to life. And then Stone Cold drove a beer truck to the ring. Dude, in the 90s. Okay, real quick. You know, I talked about how Stone Cold's career started in the early 90s. In WWE, his Stone Cold Steve Austin run was from 96 to 2002, I believe. So no, 2004. Think about that. Less than 10 years. That was 8 years that he was in the WWE, but he made more money in those 8 years than anybody did in the history of WWE. I mean, that guy was on fire.
You told me that he sold the most merch, or does he still sell the most merch?
When it comes to when it was counted by the amount of money he made per shirt or per merch, he's the highest earner ever of merch for the WWE. I think the only person who beats him or the only group that beats him is the NWO. The NWO still sells a ton of merch right now, to this day. But yeah, Austin was number one in WWE in merch, and it's just a plain black shirt that said Austin 316. That's all. I mean, that's all you need, as long as you could get it over.
That was a trademark.
Yeah. So this beer truck. Do you remember anything about the beer truck?
Unfortunately, I do remember some parts, but it's very blurry still. I think I remembered more the hospital one.
Yeah.
For me, just because I thought it was so hilarious. Yeah, but this one unfortunately I didn't remember as much.
All I remember of these is everybody's just slipping and sliding all over the place. Hilarious.
I mean, I did go back and watch it like on WWE Network, things like that, but it just, it's nothing like really seeing it for the first time.
For the first time, yeah.
Yeah.
I trip out on all the people in the front row. I believe there was a podcast where I believe Bruce Pritchard was asked if they used real beer or just something else, and they used real beer.
I bet they did.
They had to, because they wanted the people ringside, if they got wet, they wanted to make sure they knew it was beer.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just water. So
and if you guys go back and look at that skit, Vince McMahon got shot in the face like directly a few times. So I mean, I hope that hose didn't have much pressure, because that could have really messed him up.
Dude, that thing was shooting across the ring.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
that shit had a little bit of pressure behind it. And of course, this led to one of the biggest moments in wrestling, at least for the WWE at that time. Stone Cold and Mike Tyson. Now, you can see the picture quality. You can see the picture quality in this. But the Mike Tyson stuff, man. Tyson was supposed to be a part of the WrestleMania in 1990, but he lost to Buster Douglas.
Right.
So they did. I think the WWE did not want Buster Douglas, and WCW ended up signing Buster Douglas to do an appearance.
Okay.
So Tyson was supposed to be the referee, but because he lost, he was in a bad place mentally. They couldn't come to an agreement, and then in '97, years later, or it was in '98, because Austin had already won the Royal Rumble, leading into WrestleMania 14, Mike Tyson shows up and he's, the baddest man on the planet. And here comes Stone Cold as the toughest SOB in all of wrestling. This is what I first remember, about wrestling. When I first got into it, it was around this time because I remember the Tyson and Austin stuff. I remember WrestleMania 14, which we'll talk about in a bit. Any comments on the Tyson Tyson?
No, you know what? I thought it fit perfectly because if there was anybody in the WWE at that time that was going to be able to stand toe to toe with Mike Tyson and make it look believable, it was going to be Stone Cold.
And not only Mike Tyson, but D-Generation X.
Yeah.
Like at that time, it was DX versus the world. And, Austin was the only guy that could stand up to them, at that time. And I know we talk about it like, oh my God, Austin, this, he was the only one. Like at the time, like, fuck, I believed it, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But Austin was the only guy who could step up to Tyson and step up to DX.
Definitely. And I think, you know what? A lot of people just say that wrestling is fake, that it's nothing real.
I don't believe in the F word.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And yet they go and watch movies that isn't real. I mean, if you guys want to go there, well, then I'm going to say it. King Kong and Godzilla don't even exist. I mean, you guys are over here hyping it up like it's a big heavyweight title fight, right?
It is.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? I mean, if those two guys were in the middle, I'm not breaking it up. I'm not going to be, where's the zookeeper? No, I'm not doing any of that. You know what? I'm going to let them go at it. And that's exactly what I did here. I watched it and I applauded.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed this. That eventually led into WrestleMania 14 where he took on Shawn Michaels. Again, this is the first WrestleMania I remember watching, as a little kid. Of course, I've gone back and watched the rest of them, but this is what I really remember. Austin winning the title against Shawn Michaels. Any thoughts on WrestleMania 14?
No, you know what? I do know that Stone Cold didn't like the match in general. He said that, although it was his first time winning a WWE championship, he felt that Shawn Michaels just wasn't in the right state of mind. His back was really messed up, and he just wasn't in a good place mentally. And then as well as Mike Tyson, he was the guest referee.
No, he was the enforcer.
The enforcer, right? Or what is it? He's the one that counted, though.
Yeah, but he was outside of the ring to make sure like everything was in place. And then when the ref went down, then that's when Tyson.
Tyson came in and he took over.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and he also counted. He did the 3 count too fast. And there's a video. There's an interview where Stone Cold says it. And but yeah, you know what? This is the first time he ever won a WWE World Championship. So it's definitely that whole where he catches the Sweet Chin music, he turns him around. That was like an iconic moment because even in some video games, they show back Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Where they had a lot of WrestleMania and WWE video games. They had Shawn Michaels in those exact same trunks.
Yep.
Stone Cold catching the Sweet Chin music, turning him around, giving him the Stone Cold Stunner. It was just iconic. You know what I mean?
And especially for a guy who's red hot.
Yeah.
Arenas, selling out arenas all across the country. Like anywhere they went, they were selling out. And everybody was there to see Stone Cold. And I talked to you about this a little bit earlier, and we didn't put this in one of the slides, but Mick Foley, when he wins his first world title against The Rock, they're both down. The referee's down. Austin's music hits, and dude, everybody it's like a fucking explosion of the crowd. Just jumps up and they're cheering, and Austin, walk into the ring, grabs the belt, knocks out The Rock, puts Foley on top of him. Dude, that's all he did, but that's all he needed to do. It's just the people were behind him. real quick about that match against Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels' back was really bad. This is the last match Michaels has for 5 years, I think.
Yeah. Is that when he got addicted to painkillers or?
No, this is
he had surgery.
He went to get it fixed.
Right.
And then, well, after that, whatever happened to him after that, but excuse me, he was in bad shape, got his back fixed. He took 5 years off before he came back. So Shawn Michaels was not in the best shape, I guess we could say.
Right. And Stone Cold says it in an interview that Shawn Michaels just wasn't in a good place. He felt like he didn't get the 100%, showstopper WrestleMania Shawn Michaels that we know.
Dude, but you watched that match and it was so good.
Exactly. But I think they're just their own hardest critic, you know what I mean?
I mean, it could have been better.
Right.
But that match was so good. Like, you go back and watch him, Shawn Michaels against Bret Hart in those matches. Fuck, those matches were really, really good.
Yeah.
But then, you see against Austin and, in hindsight, you're like, okay, well, he was hurt and this and that. But, man, he was still so, so damn good. Making Austin look good. He had a good 98 leading into 99 where he took on The Rock. He was not the champion heading into WrestleMania 15. He beats The Rock, right? In WrestleMania 15, if I'm not mistaken. He wins the world title for a second time. And this is The Rock, probably, it's hard to say peak Rock because, I mean, right now it's hard to get, any better than where he's at right now. But this version of The Rock was probably close to as good, if not as great as he would be.
Exactly.
And then WrestleMania 16, Austin is hurt.
WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 16.
16. Austin's hurt. Don't interrupt me.
No, sorry about that.
Austin's hurt. Austin's out. He doesn't wrestle. If I'm not mistaken, WrestleMania 16 was Rock against Triple H. And that was supposed to be Austin against Triple H before he got injured. Again, part of it, his neck, all that injury came down towards his back. His knees were banged up. He was just not, he was not right.
Definitely.
WrestleMania 17, the biggest WrestleMania in history up until that point. Houston Astrodome. One to remember. We got Rock against Austin 2. The Rock wins, but the big story here is that Austin joins forces with Vince McMahon. Any thoughts on Austin joining forces with Vince McMahon?
You know what? I thought it was a big just turnaround. You know what I mean? He was the guy that hated Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was the one that was with The Rock at that time. What were they called?
The Corporation?
Yeah, they were called The Corporation at the time. And The Rock actually rock bottoms Stone Cold, or I don't know if he gives him the people's elbow, but he gives him one of those two. And then as he goes to pin him, he counts 1, 2, and Vince McMahon comes in the ring and he pulls The Rock off of him. And then that's when The Rock says, wow, you turned on me. And then, everybody thought Stone Cold and Vince McMahon just hated each other. For whatever reason, we don't know why Vince goes in to help Stone Cold. And now for him, for Stone Cold to shake Vince McMahon's hand after everything that they've been through, do you think that this was a time where maybe the fans really thought, you know what? I think I could come to hate this guy now.
No.
Even then?
No. I think
even after a turnaround like that?
No, I think it's like the NWO. Like, no matter what they did, spray painting guys and fucking throwing Rey Mysterio into the side of a truck and shit. Anything the NWO did, like, people loved.
Right.
And anything Austin did, people loved.
Right.
So, I know they wanted to turn Austin into a bad guy with Vince, but I think they the fans were like, okay, this isn't going to work. And this is just like whatever, You know, he's
Right.
joining Vince, but we still like Austin. You know?
Yeah.
Rock. There you go. That's what you get. You know, it's telling by the next thing we show. You know, this Booker T angle where they're okay. Going back real quick, WrestleMania 17. I believe it was the week before WrestleMania 17. WWE buys WCW, and in that purchase, Booker T is one of the only ones that switches over to WWE right away. Now,
Right.
some people don't know the contracts did not carry over because the WWE got to pick and choose whose contract they were gonna pick up. The WCW wrestlers had contracts with TNT, so a lot of them sat at home and got paid until their contracts ran out. Goldberg sat home for 3 years, getting paid every month. I mean, he didn't have to do anything. He was getting paid to sit at home.
Yeah.
And then after that contract was up, then he went to WWE. I was actually listening to Jim Ross, legendary announcer for the WWE, his podcast, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio came to him right after WCW was purchased. He was like, hey, you know, are you guys interested? Jim Ross asked him for his contract details. He looked over the contract. He says, look, they were in March, right? After WrestleMania. March, April. And he's like, look, dude, you got the rest of this year to get paid. Sit at home and get paid. Jim Ross told him straight up, sit at home and get paid. And in January, when your contract is up, come back and, you know, we'll talk about a deal. But right now, the best thing for you to do is rest up, get healthy, and
Lay low.
keep getting paid.
Right.
And I mean, you know, hell, I would like to stay home and get paid, you know?
Oh, definitely. But that, you know what? I think as them, they're kind of just always on the go. You know what I mean? And that's why I respect wrestlers so much. They're never home. They're always sacrificing a lot of things that a lot of people don't or aren't willing to sacrifice.
And it's all the behind the scenes stuff. You know, we talk a lot of boxing.
Stuff that people don't see.
We talk a lot of boxing and MMA. You know, we talk about the fight nights, but when it comes to the training camps, you know, people don't talk about the training camps.
Right.
Some guys leave home to go do training camp for 2 months away from home to avoid some distractions. Not saying their families are distractions, but, you know, they want to get themselves in the right mental state to be ready to perform or to, you know, to fight, I guess we could say,
Right.
at the highest level. And sometimes they need to be away because I've seen it. Some fighters are assholes
Yeah.
when it comes to focusing. I mean, they're about to get in the ring and it's either, you know, beat up or get beat up.
Right.
So, you know, they have the right to be assholes, but they don't want to put their family through that. So, I mean, people don't see that.
Yeah, and it's too with the diet. You know, there's people that are kind of starving themselves a little more. There's people that aren't working as much. You know what? We're gonna actually let's finish this whole Booker T thing, and we're gonna go back to the intro so that we can open up another can of whoop ass. Let's do it.
All right. So yeah. So as we said, Austin shook hands with Vince McMahon, kind of joined forces with Vince McMahon, and then all of a sudden, you know, Booker T comes in, and Austin's supposed to be the bad guy.
Right.
Booker T's supposed to be the good guy, but in reality, Booker T's the one coming into WWE
Yeah.
from WCW. So in the eyes of the fans of WWE, Booker T's the bad guy because he's coming in.
Yeah.
So that's why that made no sense. WrestleMania 17 made no sense to me. But Booker T's one of the few guys, like I said, like I was saying earlier. Ooh. Damn, those broken skulls got a lot of gas. Booker T was one of the few guys that came over right away. And he got put in with Stone Cold, you know, a couple months into his run. They had this epic skit where if you guys haven't seen it, please go check it out. WWE Network, or if you want to look it up on Google, go ahead. But
One of my favorites. I recommend people go and look it up. It's on YouTube.
So Booker T is grocery shopping and he is completely paranoid. He even beats up somebody that he thinks looks like Austin.
Right. Somebody that's bald.
It just
nobody's looking at him, but Booker T goes and he looks at him. He's like, he's bald, and he goes and he ambushes him. He finds out it's not Steve Austin.
he's just super paranoid at the supermarket. And it's just hilarious because eventually, Stone Cold finds him. You just have to go watch it. It's hard to explain, but they end up brawling all over the supermarket. You actually gave me an interesting stat earlier on how much damage they actually did.
Right. So I was reading an article. You know what? I did all my homework on all these little slides, and I made sure to figure it all out. I know you want another Broken Skull IPA. I know they're addicting, but I'm gonna wait till we go back to the intro show so that they could see that we drank, the Broken Skull IPA. I don't want people to think that we're just doing this for show. No, we're actually drinking this. Now, so Booker T is what was I saying?
The damage that they did.
Oh yeah, so the damage that they did, I read an article on it, and they said that they did about 10,000 to 15,000 in damage at the grocery store. Now 10,000 to 15,000 for a WWE multi-million-dollar company. I mean, they wiped their ass with that money. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit. 10,000 to 15,000. They use that as toilet paper. They don't care about 10,000, 15,000, but I thought it was a pretty good stat, because people think, I thought that they rented the supermarket and they had all their little, off-brand groceries or whatever. Stone Cold's throwing flour at his face. He's pouring mustard on him. He's mayonnaising him. He's giving him. He puts them on the conveyor belt to scan them, and then he's calling them out. He's like, clean up on aisle 3. Let's go. Oh man. And then when you think, and then Booker T, there's a part in the skit where Booker T it seems like he comes back, he hits him with like a super kick, and then it seems like Stone Cold's done, and it seems like Booker T's about to get away. He comes out of the refrigerator, he drinks a carton of milk, and he's like, oh, that's good. And he goes and he beats up Booker T again. So you know what? It's a classic. I recommend people go out and watch it. It's on YouTube.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Booker T is a funny guy himself.
Dude, Booker T is so underrated.
Definitely.
One, because in WCW, and if you guys don't like wrestling, then you guys will have no clue what I'm talking about. But Booker T in WCW was a great tag team wrestler with Stevie Ray. But then when he broke off to be his own guy, even at the end of WCW, he was such a good wrestler, so underrated. But then in WWE, he was so good. When he won King of the Ring, oh my God. King Booker, one of the best characters and one of the best runs, I think.
Definitely.
He should have, I'm going to complain, he should have beat Triple H at that one WrestleMania. And fucking, that's another story for another time. All right, so
I told you guys we would go back to the intro. You know what? We wanted to make sure that people know that we're drinking this stuff. We're not just, opening it and letting it go to waste. So make sure you down whatever you got left in that can.
Dude, I have nothing left in here. It's empty.
Show the people that
Dude,
it's
completely
open.
empty. Look.
It's open. Well, make sure there you go. Make sure you show them that it's empty. And we're going to crack open another one.
Because it's 316.
Because it's 316 day and we open cans of whoop asses on here. This is another one, not opened.
Hey, I think we should do a boxing recap right now, all fucking drunk.
I'm down with that.
I'm down.
I don't care what
I'm
it
down
is.
too. Hurry up.
I got this one.
Dude, hurry. My microphone's
Not
falling.
opened, complete.
My microphone's
You know what I mean? Here's the old one. So just to make sure, because people think we do this for clickbait. We don't do this for clickbait. We're really drinking this stuff. You know what I mean? Causing damage to our liver and whatnot. So here we go. Opening another one. Another can of whoop ass. Let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's a good thumbnail right there. It's refreshing.
Careful, because those will creep up on you.
It's for the hydration. You know what I mean? You gotta be hydrated at a time like this.
All right, so Booker T, again, very underrated wrestler. His skit with Austin was great. During this time, Austin was actually they did the invasion angle with WCW when they started to invade WWE.
Right.
They even threw in some ECW wrestlers to invade WWE. And Austin was kind of the head of that, which was kind of weird because Austin's a WWE guy through and through. And he was leading WCW in through the invasion. I mean, did you have any thoughts about that? I didn't like it.
About Steve Austin and the invasion?
Yeah.
You know what? I actually did like that skit because I felt like did NWO spray paint Steve Austin at first? And then I think in the show after that was when he kidnapped Scott Hall in the chair. He taped him down to the chair. And then
we didn't put anything about the Scott Hall thing. Actually, you know what? This is a good time to talk about it because this went around the time it happened because WrestleMania 19 came after. Okay,
go back to the intro so we could talk about it.
Yeah. So first the NWO stuff happened after because the NWO was they were part of those that had their contract that took forever to expire. No, the invasion angle was when they did the Survivor Series 5-on-5. They did the Team WCW against Team WWE. Ya estás todo pedo a la verga, güey.
I am, dude. I can't feel my arms, man. Like, I feel like I got pile drivers or some shit, dude. I know it ain't nothing to like talk about, but shoot, man. When you drink a Broken Skull IPA a little bit, I started breaking out in a cold sweat a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of just happened in the second can. I started trying to drink it too quick, and that's like I felt like my back got a little tight.
I keep messing with my microphone because my microphone stand's not working too well, so I'm trying to hold it up.
So what were you talking about?
The invasion angle. They did the Survivor Series 5-on-5 WCW versus WWE,
right?
And it was Stone Cold on Team WCW, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, that didn't make too much sense to me as well.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Jericho, Benoit, Booker T, and then Kurt Angle. I think it was Kurt Angle too, against like The Rock. Oh, and Austin.
Right.
Against The Rock, Shane, Big Show. It was just so weird. So messed. They messed that angle up big time. But then of course the NWO stuff. NWO comes to town. I'm very upset because WrestleMania 18 we had Rock versus Hogan.
Right.
That was actually supposed to lead into Austin versus Hogan. It was supposed. Austin actually wanted Hogan at WrestleMania 19, but then Hogan just, wasn't, or that didn't happen for whatever reason. So Austin ended up facing Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18. And yes, like you were saying, you want to talk about the Scott Hall angle where they kidnap him?
Yeah, where they can. So NWO, do they spray paint Steve Austin or what they do? Just Stone Cold. They did something to him right in the show before, and then Stone Cold in the next show he comes back. He kidnaps Scott Hall. People that don't know who Scott Hall is, Razor Ramon. He gets him in a chair, in a rolling chair. He duct tapes him, and then he's like wheeling him all over the arena, and he's trying to bait the NWO to come and save their friend. That's what the whole skit is about. And Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash, I believe, are the ones that are like, they're in a room and they're talking, and Hulk Hogan's like, man, I'm scared of Stone Cold because he's got a crowbar. He's got and they don't know where Scott Hall is or Razor Ramon. And they kind of they don't know exactly where he is. He ends up baiting them into a cage, and he ends up locking them in the cage. But he's able to get Razor Ramon by himself. He locks Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan in the cage. he ends up beating up Scott Hall, right? He wheels him all the way to the arena, to the ring or whatever, and he does his due diligence and he takes out the trash.
Due diligence. Actually, a fucked up story.
Yeah, as fucked up as I am right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fucked
okay,
up.
that's a pretty fucked up story.
Bruce Pritchard. Well, okay. Believe who you want to believe. Okay.
A lot of people don't know who Bruce Pritchard is. Tell
Bruce
them who
Pritchard
they,
is one of the
who he is.
behind the scenes guys that was with Vince McMahon for a lot of years, probably 20 plus years. With him today, if you watch WWE television, he's come out a couple times. Excuse me, I had a burp. Excuse me. Ooh. Anyways, he talks about that skit where Scott Hall's in the freezer. Stone Cold's pouring beer on him.
Scott Hall in the freezer. That's all you gotta know.
Stone Cold's pouring beer on him. Scott Hall is a recovering alcoholic
And he's in a freezer?
who take
If he's a recovering alcoholic in the freezer,
he's taking pills.
talk about Stone Cold.
He's taking pills, to help with the, I guess, weaning of the alcohol.
Right.
And
Like
Stone
withdrawal
Cold,
symptoms. and
yeah,
all that.
Stone Cold pouring alcohol on him actually makes the effect of the pills worse. So,
But like in real,
in real life,
really?
Stone Cold, Bruce Pritchard, nobody that directed the skit knew about that. Scott Hall was taped up; he couldn't say anything. I think they had his mouth covered.
Okay,
and
but
while Stone Cold was pouring alcohol on him, he's freaking out because he took these pills that are supposed to help him against the alcoholism. And it made him worse.
So
It got him sick
What was it about? Like, did he pour the alcohol like over his face, or did it
on his
like
head.
leak into his pores? Or
No, he just poured it over him. But I guess Scott Hall was in such a recovery mode mentally that it messed with him.
right?
Like it got
Okay.
him sick. Yeah. And then I think
And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think that, wrestlers go through a lot of, they get addicted to painkillers because they take a lot of bumps. You know what I mean? They're jumping off turnbuckles. They're getting slammed. They're getting clotheslined. A bunch of stuff that can really mess your body up. So when they take those painkillers, they don't feel anything.
well, they
Then-
take the painkillers, and then a lot of the times the guys take the painkillers with alcohol
Right.
so that it ups the effects.
So Scott Hall, he was a recovering alcoholic. And so when they poured the alcohol on his head, what did he like smell it? Did he kind of just have those those flashbacks of, oh, I need to have?
Pretty much. It was
That's
a
what it is?
mental thing. It's not like he ingested it and it got him
Right.
sick. It was a mental thing, but I guess the effect of the pills he was taking and the alcohol really
Wow.
messed him up. Yeah.
I did not know that.
And nobody did either until after they, took the tape off his mouth and he fucking chewed everybody out.
So what did he say? Or
I
what is-
don't know. Scott Hall hasn't talked about it. Bruce Pritchard, the podcast, he didn't talk about it much.
But what did he say as far as like, did he say that he had a reaction to when they poured the alcohol on his head?
Yeah, he had some kind of reaction to it. They
Okay.
didn't go into specifics.
Got
Yeah,
it.
but it was, dude, crazy stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I don't know if it was because of that, but heading into WrestleMania 18, Scott Hall did relapse. Started drinking a lot. I believe he was really hungover for WrestleMania 18, from what I hear. And then the WrestleMania after party, he was pretty hammered. So,
Yeah.
but he's in a great place now, Scott Hall.
I love to see that.
One of the great dudes of wrestling. Excuse me, one of the great wrestlers also.
Right.
All right, so WrestleMania, that was WrestleMania. Ooh, we went long. Booker T, and then heading into WrestleMania 18. WrestleMania 19, this is Stone Cold's last official match against The Rock. Any thoughts on WrestleMania 19 and maybe the lead up into WrestleMania 19?
You know what? At the time, it was The Rock against Stone Cold. To me, it was an iconic. They had already had 2 matches. I said, you know what? These are 2 of my favorite wrestlers going at it. Never once did I think that it was going to be Stone Cold's last match.
Yeah. And I think earlier I said it was Stone Cold. The Stone Cold character was from 96 to 2004.
Right.
But this last match happened in 2002.
Was it 2002?
2003, I believe. So his character continued on TV for another year, hoping that he would be able to wrestle again, but he just wasn't able to.
Okay. Now does it would you happen to know if it was anything to do with, well, we know that his knees were messed up. Both his knees were jacked.
His neck.
His neck was messed up.
I think it was mostly his neck.
Do you know if he ever got a fusion surgery that didn't allow him to wrestle again? Because they say when you get your neck broken, you can get a surgery, but if you get it fused, you're not able to wrestle again. They tell you shouldn't wrestle anymore.
So, well, we've seen this with Kurt Angle also.
Right.
Where the fusion surgery just takes longer to recover.
Okay.
You know, what Kurt Angle did was he had a surgery that would not necessarily take the disc out, but it would
like a temporary fix.
Yeah, temporary fix where he would be able to wrestle in 6 months. He wouldn't be 100%, but he would be able to wrestle in 6 months.
Right.
And that's what he did. Even to this day, he has a podcast out now, the Kurt Angle
Show.
Kurt Angle Show.
I really like it. They have a new episode every Sunday, right?
Yeah. So check it out wherever you guys like your podcast or wherever you guys listen to your podcast. But anyway, I think it was in his first or second podcast, he talked about his neck today and how he has to have that fusion surgery, but he just doesn't want to sit in a state of recovery for that long.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have to, be wheeled around. He's going to have to be tended to. He's not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
But he still does need that surgery because all he did was, temporarily fix the problem.
Right.
Just so he could continue wrestling. And that's what kind of happened to Stone Cold leading into WrestleMania 19. Now, Jim Ross on his podcast, we talked about it earlier, Grilling JR. Make sure you guys check it out. I think it comes out every Thursday. He talked about Stone Cold being in the hospital the night before WrestleMania 19. JR did not know if Austin was going to be able to wrestle WrestleMania 19. He was in bad shape. He was really sick. It wasn't a neck issue or a knee issue. He was just really sick and in pain. But I mean, they still put on a hell of a match. Wasn't as good as WrestleMania 15 or WrestleMania 17, but it is the trilogy, and I think a lot of people were looking forward to it.
Okay.
Any thoughts on WrestleMania 19, Rock Austin?
Nah, you know what? I thought it was it was a good way for him to end his career. I definitely didn't think that it was going to be his last match. When I see him talk about it now on his podcast, or he does Q&As on YouTube that I've listened to, where fans are able to ask him questions. He's able to answer things that went on in his career, whatever somebody asked him about this match. And I guess it had been 6 years or 8 years since that match happened, that he wasn't able to even watch it or talk about it because that was his last match. And a lot of people didn't know that. A lot of people, he didn't tell a lot of people. He didn't even tell a lot of the boys, which were a lot of the other wrestlers. They didn't know that was his last match. You know what? I thought it was a good way for him to go out. If that was his last match, which it was, I thought it was one of the best matches as well. Him and The Rock at WrestleMania. I don't think there's ever been somebody that's headlined 3 WrestleManias together. Has there been, even to this day?
Nope.
So that just goes to show you how much of a fit they were for each other.
Yeah, and you watch their matches. I mean, their matches were so good. Their matches, their skits, their segments. Actually, it wasn't this one. It was WrestleMania 17. The video package leading up to, oh my God. If you guys need to look it up on YouTube, WrestleMania 17.
Was that the one where the song was No Way?
Yeah.
No Way or the Highway.
My Way or the Highway.
My Way or the Highway.
Yeah, My Way or the Highway. WrestleMania 17, that video package just gave me chills. And it still does to this day. Give me chills every time I watch it. But yeah, WrestleMania 19, it was unfortunate. I think The Rock probably deserved a little better. Austin tried to do what he could, but, it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't Stone Cold.
Yeah.
It was Steve Austin. And it was really unfortunate, but at the time we didn't know.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Except for Austin. Austin knew. And then that led, Austin took some time off. But that led to this whole Brock Lesnar thing.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, King of the Ring was coming up after WrestleMania, a couple months after. And Stone Cold was asked to face Brock Lesnar in a qualifying match. Keep in mind, the King of the Ring is a tournament style event where, you win, you go on to the next round, you lose, you're eliminated.
Yeah.
Stone Cold was asked to face Brock Lesnar in the first qualifying match. Dude, this wasn't even for the tournament. This was to get into the King of the Ring tournament. On Monday Night Raw, Stone Cold against Brock Lesnar. And he was asked to lose to Brock Lesnar so that Brock Lesnar could go into the King of the Ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin said, no way. He was at the airport ready to go to wherever this Monday Night Raw was. And he didn't even get on the flight. He called a cab and he went home.
And that takes a lot of balls.
That takes a lot of balls. I think JR called him plenty of times. Stone Cold would not answer until he got home. When he got home, JR called his house. Stone Cold answered and he said, you know what? I'm not doing it. Now, today, if you look at interviews from today, Stone Cold does say that he might have handled the situation incorrectly. Mm. He probably could have handled it better. But I'm going to be straight up with you. I think he did the right thing.
I definitely do as well.
And this is no disrespect to Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar is or has become one of the greatest attractions in wrestling over the last, 20 years.
Right.
Because when he came out of college, he was just a monster. Any thoughts, or what are your thoughts on Austin, pretty much saying no to Brock Lesnar?
You know what? I don't think he said no to Brock Lesnar as far as he said no to the creative team at that time. I think from what I heard in interviews, like I said, I've done my homework. I've listened to a lot of interviews. He said that he felt that if he was going to get Brock Lesnar over, which if him getting somebody over in the wrestling terms means he's going to take him to that next level. He's going to have the fans know who he is. He's going to take him to that next he's going to elevate him. Right. So he felt that it wasn't right for the creative team to book a match with him versus Brock Lesnar in a qualifying match instead of a main event or even a big pay-per-view match. You know what I mean?
Honestly, why could they not have just said, hey, Austin, in the finals of the King of the Ring, you're going to lose to Brock Lesnar? I'm sure he would have been cool with that. But Brock Lesnar was so hot. We got to remember, at that time, Brock Lesnar was, and this was his tagline, the next big thing.
He definitely was the next big thing, because when he came in to the WWE, he had the look. He had everything. He was
the pedigree.
Okay, he had the wrestling background. Mm-hmm. In college, the dude was a freaking animal. As far as wrestling goes, NCAA champ, right? He comes into the WWE. the dude has the build. He's freaking yoked to the gills.
Yep.
I mean, this dude is jacked. So if you're going to have anybody with that type of look, just the way he came in, I mean, he came in like he was a force that couldn't be stopped.
Yeah.
So I understand that in a sense, but I don't understand why you would have Stone Cold lose in a qualifying match when Stone Cold was bigger than Brock Lesnar still. Even if Brock Lesnar had all the traits to be the future of the business, you can't sacrifice who the guy is now just because you have the future. But Brock Lesnar wasn't going to be the future for another, a prime maybe year or so. So for them to try to have Stone Cold lose in a qualifying match, that's like having him lose that's like having him lose the belt on a Raw show in the first match.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah. It didn't make sense. Even in hindsight, I heard Bruce Pritchard, I believe, talk about it, and he thought that it was the right thing to do, and maybe that's him being a creative force behind the scenes, and him, kind of standing up for Vince McMahon and standing up for what they thought was the right thing. And he did say Austin, probably didn't do the right thing, and Austin even said maybe he didn't handle it correctly. But it's just it's hard for me. It's hard for me to believe that a qualifying match is the best you could do.
Yeah, definitely for me, it's just not gonna cut it.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, Brock Lesnar eventually he ended up winning the title at SummerSlam, I believe that same year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So, I mean, dude, Brock Lesnar, you could have waited. Against Stone Cold, you could have waited.
Right.
I mean, eventually they did get around to it. You want to talk about WrestleMania 20 real quick, which was Austin's real last big build-up. Yeah, so it was Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg was scheduled for WrestleMania 20. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the special guest referee, and the thought behind that was Stone Cold is the only one who could control Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. And, the people loved it. The people ate it up. They had a great build-up. Me and you actually watched one of the SmackDowns leading up to WrestleMania 20 where Stone Cold shows up. The locker room is blocking the entrance ramp to the ring. And one by one, everybody moves out of the way so that Austin could get to Lesnar, and they have a nice little battle.
Definitely one of my favorites.
Definitely.
For people that don't know, Brock Lesnar, he steals one of Stone Cold Steve Austin's ATVs, which one of his little quad motorcycles. He steals it. He takes it on the show, and then Stone Cold says he's gonna go to SmackDown because Stone Cold was on Raw. He was gonna go to SmackDown and get his ATV back. You know what? And Brock Lesnar is in the ring. He's calling out Stone Cold, telling him to come get his ATV. And he's got the entire SmackDown locker room blocking the entrance to the ring and, on the SmackDown show. So, nobody expects Stone Cold to come out. Stone Cold comes out. He comes out in his pickup truck. He gets out. He has the ramps to load his quad into his truck. He goes towards all the superstars that are blocking the entrance, and they all let him through. Even Big Show at the end, he lets him through, saying, "You know what? Go get your ATV. Go give Brock Lesnar a piece of his go open a can of whoop ass on Brock Lesnar.
Give him the knuckle sandwich that he asked
Yeah,
for.
exactly. A knuckle sandwich." And yeah, so you know what? He's trying to Stone Cold's trying to get into the ring after Big Show lets him in or whatever. He can't get into the ring because Brock Lesnar's being a chicken and he's not letting him inside the ring. So you know what? he has his spare keys to his quad or to his ATV. He gets on the ATV, he drives it up the ramp, and he's like, okay, if I'm going to fight Brock Lesnar, he's going to have to come to me instead of me getting in there and him ambushing me before I get into the ring. So they have this big standoff. Brock Lesnar gets out of the ring. Stone Cold gets off his ATV. They have this big standoff, and they start going at it. You know what? Stone Cold starts beating him up with punches. He throws him into the ring post, and then he throws him back into the ring. He Stone Cold stunners Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman gets out of the ring, sells it well. After that, what happens?
Lesnar gets him in an F5, doesn't he?
I don't know if he gets him in an F5 or not. I don't think he does because he's able to load his ATV and get off on his way.
Oh, I think he escapes the F5 or something like that. Yeah, but
definitely a big thing. I think people should go out there and watch it as well. It's on YouTube.
That leads to WrestleMania 20 where Brock Lesnar lost to Goldberg. Goldberg beats Brock Lesnar. They both actually ended up leaving the WWE after that.
Right. I felt as well that it wasn't a good match.
Dude, that match sucked.
I think it was two guys that just didn't want to be there.
And they just weren't good.
Yeah, they weren't. I felt like they just didn't fit right with each other. Even though they were two guys. Goldberg, hey, he's one of my favorites. Brock Lesnar, one of my favorites. But I think together they just didn't match up well. They just didn't have that connection in the ring. And I felt they were just two guys that just didn't want to be there. They were already on their way out. They didn't want to be in the business. So I think that match in general just sucked. And I think a lot of people would say that it sucked.
Yeah. Lesnar had just lost the title to Eddie Guerrero.
Right.
At No Way Out.
Eddie Guerrero, one of my favorites, man. Love that guy.
Yes, definitely one of my favorites also. And Lesnar was already on his way out. He was going to go try out for the Minnesota Vikings. He actually did really good in that camp. I think he was the last one cut. So he was, what was it, a 52-man roster, and he was number 53, something like that.
Right.
And
he made it to like the last practice of when you can cut somebody.
And Goldberg was just done. He's like, fuck it. Stone Cold did count the 3 for Goldberg to win, and then had a beer with Goldberg and then gave him the Stone Cold Stunner. So Stone Cold looked good, of course, like always. Excuse me. But after that, Stone Cold also did the WrestleMania where Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump, which was, Bobby Lashley versus Umaga, where he actually shaved Vince McMahon's head, which is pretty fun. Looking back at it. And after that, we didn't see much of Stone Cold. We've seen him here and there. But really, his time really came to an end. He does have his Broken Skull IPA, which we are drinking right now, as you guys can see.
And let me tell you guys a little bit about this Broken Skull IPA. You know what? When he...
Shit's strong.
Right? When he retired from wrestling, he had his years where he didn't really do anything after that. He appeared on a couple of shows, but not really anything major. He decided to team up with El Segundo, which is a brewing company. And
shout out to El Segundo, because I've been there a couple times and awesome customer service.
Definitely. And you know what? I just think in general it's a good brewery in general. So he teamed up with El Segundo in Los Angeles, and he wanted to make his own beer. And to me, at least, I think it's great because he wants to set himself up not just for, life after wrestling, but a kind of just a connection with his fans. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I think about when I drink the beer. It reminds me of all the Stone Cold matches of what I grew up watching, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I feel like he really hit the nail on the head with this type of beer. And I can't say enough about it. I think I definitely like it. I don't like IPAs, to be honest.
And it's strong as shit.
Listen, when I first tried an IPA, I'm going to tell you guys the first time I ever tried an IPA. Okay, I think we were on the way to a cemetery, right? This is where you usually drink an IPA. You're on the way to a cemetery. I'm not going to tell you guys what it's for. But you brought one, and it was a long time ago. Okay, it was years back. So he brings one from El Segundo, and I'm like, what the heck's an IPA? You know, me being Mexican, I don't drink IPAs. I drink Modelos, Pacificos, Coronas, Budweiser, Bud Light, all those type of beers you usually hear about. You know what I mean? So you bring an El Segundo beer, and I'm like, okay, well let's drink it. So we drink it on our way before we get there. Well, before we leave the house. You don't drink and drive. You don't do that. So you drink it before you leave the house. And I'm trying to chug this thing, and I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, you know what I mean? I can't chug this. I'm like, there's something wrong with this beer because it tastes a little thicker. This thing's going to mess me up if I freaking try to chug this. So I'm like, what the heck's an IPA? He's like, an IPA is like a crafted beer. And I'm like, okay. Well, this thing doesn't even taste like anything crafted. This thing tastes like death, you know, in a can. So, you know, and it's from El Segundo. It's another type of beer. I don't know. Yeah. Do you remember what it was?
Don't remember which one it was.
Right, but it was from El Segundo. So I'm like, okay, I've heard about this brewery.
Oh, you know what it was? It was the Dad Cap.
It was a Dad Cap?
Yeah, it was called the Dad Cap. I remember.
I don't remember exactly what it was. But whatever the case, I tried to chug that thing and I couldn't. I was like, okay, this thing is freaking strong as hell. Like, I feel like if I chug this, you know, it's not going to end good for me. So I didn't like IPAs at first, but the more I started drinking this one, okay, this is a 6.7 alcohol content. It's 1 pint, which is 16 ounces. And I think it's really smooth for an IPA. You know what? A lot of people like the hazy IPAs.
That one's pretty good too.
Right. A lot of people don't like that coffee stuff. Like people that, you know, like that dark IPA, people don't like that crap. All right. I don't like that crap. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not like that. Dude, that thing is strong as hell. You know, you can't even really drink that in peace because you're going to get messed up off of one. So, you know what I mean? You got to worry about who's going to drive you home. You got to worry about a lot of things. But drinking a Broken Skull IPA, let me tell you, I think it's a great tasting beer. People need to go out there and try it, especially if you haven't tasted an IPA before. Like, I think if it's just your first IPA, go ahead and drink it. And I think it's easy to get accustomed to the taste of it.
I agree.
Right? So
I agree.
Definitely.
The only reason I got those Dad Caps that one time is because they didn't have Broken Skull.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the Broken Skull IPAs. So where I got these 4-packs from, when we first tried the Broken Skull IPAs, we had to get them from El Segundo because there was no other place. We went to a lot of places, a lot of liquor stores,
places that, you know, you
sell IPAs.
You look up online and they're like, oh, we might have them. And then you go and check and they don't have shit.
So you know, you would always just get them from El Segundo. We don't live in Los Angeles. So to try to get Broken Skull IPAs, it's a mission. So for my birthday, I go and I look it up. I'm like, we had gone Broken Skull IPAs from El Segundo in the past, but I think that's the best place to get them from.
Yeah.
I'll say that flat out. I think El Segundo is the best place to get them from.
We bought a keg one time, remember?
Yeah, exactly. We bought a keg before we got the 4-packs. I just think it's the best place to get them. And but when you don't live near Los Angeles, you kind of just think, you know, well, where else can you get them from? And there was actually a place by where we work that actually has them. So I looked it up online. It was on my birthday. I was like, you know what? I want to have a couple beers. I want to see what they got. So I'm like, you know what? I want to have an IPA kind of just to, you know, after I get off of work, I want to get home. It's my birthday. I want to drink. I want to have a good, solid beer. So I look up online. I'm not going to say which which store it is because I don't want to give out free, publicity.
Or you don't want it. You don't want
Yeah.
anybody to take all the Broken Skull IPA.
Definitely not. I'm not going to have people taking all the Broken Skull IPAs. So this store, I look up online and I'm like, wow, these people have it. So I go, I check it out, say it's on aisle 7. I was like, okay, let me go check aisle 7. I see the beers by themselves. I don't see them in the 4-packs. So I was like, okay, this is a little bit awkward to me because the single beers they get sold for more. I was like, no, I'm not gonna fall for that. I was like, I gotta look around, gotta take my time. I look around, I find the 4-packs of IPAs, and I go, I buy them. It's at a good price. I said, all right, let's do it.
And they definitely helped us get through this podcast today because I am fucked up already with just 2 of them. A cheer.
I gotta go to the restroom. That's why I tapped my brother's shoulder. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. Dude,
All right,
stop the
real quick.
recording. Stop the recording. I gotta go bad. Like,
All right. Sorry, the quick interruption. Sorry for that.
did you start the recording?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's recording now.
let's do it.
Broken Skull Sessions. Alex, you have any favorite Broken Skull sessions?
You know what? I've listened to a lot of the Broken Skull sessions. I've listened to the Ric Flair one, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, one of my favorites for sure.
The Kurt Angle one, I think, was really underrated.
Yeah, the Kurt Angle one as well.
Am I drunk or is this blurry?
No, I think I'm drunk. I don't think it's my camera. I think the camera's actually good, but I think I'm the one that's blurry. For whatever reason, we can't get our camera to focus.
All of a sudden, it's the camera. It's not us. All right, we'll go back to the screen right here.
Man, freaking camera on the man, the camera never goes blurry, and all of a sudden when we're drinking a Broken Skull IPA, the freaking camera wants to go blurry. Might have to open a can of whoop ass on it later. But anyway, yeah, Broken Skull sessions, I think definitely The Undertaker, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels. They're all really good. I think even the Mark Henry run is really good. He's having one coming up with Randy Orton.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, Randy Orton's definitely been a guy that's evolved as a legend. He was a legend killer in his early career, and now I feel like he's on a different level now than he was before. And I'm glad he's able to do the Broken Skull sessions.
The 3 ladies that he's at on the podcast, Becky Lynch, Bailey, and Sasha Banks, those have also been amazing.
Definitely. I feel like he's doing a great job focusing on them as well. You know what I mean? I hope he has Charlotte Flair soon on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, Charlotte, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't think Charlotte needs a podcast. I think she's very, individual. But, and I mean, not to say that Becky, Bailey, and Sasha needed it, but they made for good content.
Right.
I guess we could say, because they had a great story. But I guess
I feel like they did need I feel like they did need it because I feel like women's wrestling doesn't get the respect it deserves at this point. You know what I mean?
I agree. Definitely it doesn't. Because there's some really good women wrestlers.
I really like Broken Skull sessions because it's able to show. I'm freaking pissed off at this freaking, you know what I mean? I'm about to Stone Cold Stunner this goddamn laptop if it doesn't freaking focus.
It's the camera.
Yeah, so you know what? I feel like a lot of people don't listen to women's wrestling.
Yeah.
And you know what? I like to watch Broken Skull sessions because it shows them from when they first started their career to how they got started, to where they came from, NXT, things like that. And I think that it really shows what these people had to go through to start their careers.
I agree.
And that's something that I feel like is really behind the scenes, doesn't really get talked about.
Yeah, it doesn't get the attention, I think.
Yeah. Like when there we go. There we go. This is what I wanted to see right here.
You're welcome.
The camera's on full focus. So when Stone Cold, what?
My mic.
Oh yeah, my brother
My mic
took
stand
apart
just
his
took a shit.
microphone. He 2 Broken Skull IPAs and he's taking apart his microphone. This
No,
is what,
dude, I try to.
you gotta
fix
respect it.
I try to fix it, but it didn't work.
So, anyways, Stone Cold, when he the way he started off his career. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I'm listening to
Right.
what you're saying.
So when he started off his career, it literally started off with him going to house shows. You know, those shows that people they never get talked about because they're not on TV.
Yeah.
So it's all in these little small arenas that people don't know about. The wrestlers go to small arenas all over the world, and they're doing these little house shows. So the way Stone Cold got into the business was that he went to a house show with his friend. He was coming out of college. He was done playing football. He said, you know what? I'm not going to play at the highest level or the higher level like NFL or whatever. And he had like 17 hours left to graduate college. Mm-hmm. So his friend is telling him, hey, you know what? I think you got the build for this. You should really look into doing this because you come to all the house shows. Why not pursue wrestling? And he said, yeah. He went. He paid $1,500 for a class. I looked at the interview. I did my research. He looked at the interview. He actually says it in an interview that he paid $1,500 to go to a wrestling class. So that whole little wrestling school or whatever got him into the business. So it's $1,500. He had a pack of all his stuff. That's something that I respect from wrestlers. They have to leave everything that they know, basically, right? They have to leave their family. They have to leave their friends, whatever the case, to go and pursue something that I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to do, right? A lot of people wouldn't be able to leave their friends, leave their family, know that you're going to be gone for Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all that type of stuff to go and pursue a dream in wrestling.
I agree.
And you're on the road all the time. You're going to a lot of house shows that people don't see. It's not just Raw and SmackDown. It's not just what's on TV that week. You're probably doing another 2-3 shows that people aren't seeing on TV. And I can respect something like that.
2 or 3 shows?
2 or 3.
From what you hear.
A week. I don't know.
From what you hear, it's...
Besides
they do TV on Monday, and then they'll do like Tuesday... they'll do a house show, quote unquote house show. Wednesday, they'll go home to their family. They'll be there Thursday. And then Friday, they have to be ready for a house show. So they'll do a house show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then they'll do TV again on Monday, house show on Tuesday, and then go home on Wednesday. So they're working 5 days a week, and a lot of the times they're not just going home. They're staying in a hotel and flying to the next city or driving to the next city. We've actually been to a house show in LA. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Sometimes when they're on TV, everything's scripted and, they try to make things look good for TV. But that house show we went to was actually pretty good because the wrestlers got to be themselves.
Yeah. And you know what? That's something that a lot of people say that wrestling's fake, this and that. You know what? That type of drive and determination when you're able to leave your family, you're able to go and pursue a dream. You're never home. Some people don't start families. Stone Cold, I don't even think has kids, right?
Yeah, he does.
Does he have kids?
Yeah.
Wow, how many?
I don't know, but I know he has some.
Right? I think he had like 3 failed marriages or something like that, right?
Well, I mean, you asked about kids. You didn't ask about failed marriages.
Failed marriages. You have a lot of things like that. You know what? That's something that I can respect because it takes a different type of person to have that type of drive and determination to go and pursue a dream. A lot of these guys, they live in their cars for a long time because people think that you go and you make millions of dollars right off the bat.
Nope.
It's nothing like that. Like a lot of people think that it's, I'm going to go become a WWE wrestler. I'm going to get signed. I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm gonna buy a house and this and that. People have to live in their cars for a little while.
Yep.
People have to live in hotels for a little while.
Yep.
And then little by little, they start building and building and building. And that's something that I can respect. That's why I love a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right, let's finish off the podcast. Favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin moment?
Oh, man. You know what? I think it's going to be the hospital one. Him and Vince. You know what? I thought that was perfect because, you know, at that time, I thought it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, Vince McMahon is in the hospital. He's not expecting Stone Cold to be the doctor. He comes, he opens up a can of whoop ass on Vince McMahon, who's the boss. He's got a broken leg or whatever he's got. I don't know what he's got. He hits him over the head with a frying pan. All this type of stuff. And you know what's my favorite thing? Is that Vince McMahon inducts him into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. No, Jim Ross inducted him.
No.
Oh, no. Stone Cold inducted Jim Ross into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Vince McMahon inducts Stone Cold into the Hall of Fame. I feel like it was only fitting that the foundation of his career was him doing whatever he wants to his boss.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Him being that guy, that rebel that just doesn't give an F.
Yep.
And then the boss is the one that inducts him into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't think you can go off anything better than that. That's why I think the hospital one is definitely my favorite.
My favorite will always be WrestleMania 14. Stone Cold winning his first title. I just think that being my first memory as a wrestling fan, the whole Tyson and Austin thing, you know, that was the first thing I remember, you know, watching wrestling. So that's always going to stick with me. You know, the matches against The Rock, the build-ups, the video package before WrestleMania 17. You know, Austin didn't have a long career as Stone Cold. You know, I talked about it earlier. It was only 8 years, you know. See guys like Chris Jericho who have been around for like 20 plus 30, almost 30 years. You know, but I'm a huge fan of Stone Cold. Like I said, that WrestleMania 14 build-up was definitely my favorite.
Awesome. And anything else you want to say on this podcast?
Nah,
you know what?
I'm fucked up.
I definitely liked checking back a couple ones. I actually have a little bit left on this one. I'm going to
I don't have
just
shit left.
pound it here.
All right. Well, while Alex finishes that, thank you guys for downloading this episode of the A Sports Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace out, because I'm done.